Thank you for listening to this podcast from TRE, Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain and around the world. For more information, please visit TRE.radio.
Discuss, challenge, inform, comment, Viewpoint on Talk Radio Europe.
Giles Brown.
Live comment and discussion with studio guests. Viewpoint.
It is Tuesday, the 9th of June. Welcome to Viewpoint, Talk Radio Europe's current affairs show with a panel of invited guests where we discuss the issues of the day. They can be national, international or local, anything else that is crossing your radar. Be delighted to hear from you. If you want to get your viewpoint across, these are the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Right then, I'm joined as always by a very lovely and a very lively panel. I've only got a full house. To my right today, Tim Stafford. Timothy, lovely to see you again.
Oh, Giles, it's lovely to see you too.
Yes, it's been a while. You're looking tanned and well and lovely as always. Like the girl from Ipanema, I'd venture to say. Tall and tanned and lithe and lovely.
I have been exhibiting my form.
Okay, fair enough. There's nothing to say to that. Oh, it's going to be one of those shows.
That's certainly an opener, isn't it? That's
an opener. You should show Tim the swimwear. Show Tim the swimwear. To my left, for a change, is the lovely Alia Baba Pullet. And before you start, Alia, I just want to play because I said your comments from the other day. If you can hear this, Alia, what are you trying to do there?
It's gone down.
Right, fine. You didn't hear that, did you? So I'll try it again. Here we go. Alia, what are you trying to do there?
It's gone down.
Right, fine. So there you go. So you're immortalised there in the TRE annals. So good morning to you, Alia.
Good morning. I hope I've wafted in on my cloud of loveliness.
You have wafted in indeed. And to my centre, and I never thought I'd say that in my lifetime.
No, never did I.
Exactly. Alf, good morning to you, sir.
And I noticed we're being paid today.
Yeah, exactly. Don't spend it all at once.
Okay? Absolutely.
Yes.
No, don't spend it.
Don't spend it is the rules. Good to have you with us all, a full house today, as always on TRE. On Viewpoint, let's have a look at the front pages, and we can kick off with some of the maybe the headlines or just basically what's happening in the world. Your newspaper headlines this morning: mixed bag this morning from the front pages. The Guardian splashes on an interview with President Volodymyr Zelensky, which he says the hopes that UK town halls will bring back Ukrainian flags. Israel and Iran step back from a full-blown conflict, the paper says elsewhere, reporting that both nations say they have halted attacks on each other. Following an appeal from Donald Trump to immediately stop shooting. Fair enough. Financial Times also leads with that story. Here's the one for us. The Daily Mail leads with. Oh, are we okay there, panel? Sorry, is that okay? Sorry, are we having a...
No, we're having a good time.
All right, fine, okay.
Just join in when you feel
All right, thank you very much. Is university a waste of money, asked the Daily Mail. Meanwhile, Daily Telegraph, billions in aid cash handed over to terrorists, and a picture of Ben Stokes. Those two stories are unrelated. Daily Express, Kemi, restore common sense to public services, and a picture of Idris Elba on the front of them. Meanwhile, the Times, West Ham owner abused power to prey on women. That's David Sullivan, who stepped down. Predator, footy tycoon accused. That is the front of the Sun. The Daily Mail, same story. West Ham chief accused. Meanwhile, the iPaper, UK spying fears after secret camera found in Whitehall ceiling panel. And the Metro leads with Lieutenant in Kinahan gang jailed for hit. Making the front page of the Metro is what they describe as the notorious global cartel. Interesting story for many of us down here. And finally, Daily Star. The Daily Star leads with wish you weren't here. Great white shark spotted as millions holiday in the Med. And those are your headlines on this Tuesday, the 9th of June. If you want to get your viewpoint across, then I'll just give you the numbers very, 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 very quickly again, which are as follows.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
No. Huh?
Sullivan done.
Head of the West of the... Sorry, but good...
Was.
Yes. Exactly. He did retire, but he stepped down before. It's, because good morning to Richard's coming going. Pornographer-like girls, who knew? Let's move away from because we've kind of gone through these horrendous stories about men in power abusing, etc., etc. So I think that has been pretty... Well, we might come back to it a little bit later, but I know that,
Probably the best news for West Ham fans in many a year.
There we go. Okay, so we'll draw a line on that one. 952 78 4000 is the phone number indeed. It's been a busy week in politics. We have had, obviously, the celebrations of D-Day, etc. We've had this shocking murder as well. The horrendous webcam being broadcast with the death of Henry Nowak. But it's kind of the fallout. I'm going to link both together because this is the situation that broke as we came off air last week, and we had the scenes of the family of this young man who was shockingly was killed. The body cam footage came out. It was very, very even I found it disturbing. And I suppose one of the problems is that now that stuff comes out on air, everybody is judge and jury, and even if you may not know what has happened in the run-up, but the pictures of that young man basically dying in front of the eyes and the reaction, and the knee-jerk reaction straight away from people. I'll start with you, Ali, on your thoughts on that, because people are very quick to condemn and draw their conclusions.
This comes back again to our previous talks about social media and the effect of everything being instantaneous and shown around the world. The father of Henry Nowak was extremely kind in the way that he said, do not politicize this. Let our child be put to rest in a quiet and dignified way, which, of course, it never happened because a certain person started getting on the political bandwagon and caused an awful lot of mayhem. But I am, as a mother, a grandmother, and I'm sure everybody here in the panel and most of you out there in the world find all of this rather unsettling, to say the least. It is one thing to be able to be in touch with world news and so on and so forth, but to have something like this, a body cam footage played in front of the millions and millions of people everywhere, it's taking it too far. It's just stirring the pot again. And there are going to be more riots as well, because a certain group of people are going to do this, and they're doing it all for the wrong reasons. What the Met Police did, or the police did, which was wrong, they should have completely done it a different way, was to inflate the whole situation far more than it was actually needed. The death of that poor young man is horrific enough in such a way. And now the Sikh community, which is actually a very caring one, and they do an awful lot to help people, now they're being vilified and attacked. It's gone out of hand.
Alf, you're looking, and I'll come to you in a minute.
Pensive.
Yeah, pensive.
Yeah, I think, first of all, let's get the issue of the kid being killed. That was just wrong. The way the police handled him was just wrong. Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything about the whole scene was wrong, including, I think, the extended amount of time they showed it on the television.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the media, it wasn't, forget Farage, forget Reform, forget all the right-wing rubbish that went on. It was the media that initially said there was something wrong with this, and it looks like it's this Asian guy has done something. So they immediately said, this is what we think happened. They had no idea, no more idea than you and I. But they made a judgment. Following that, and I understand it, the family said, we don't want this to be politicised. They were talking, I am absolutely certain, about the politicising of it in terms of we don't want a pile of people on the streets starting to say this is a racist thing.
Yeah.
I understand that. But you cannot not politicise something that is political. Was it two-tier policing? There's lots of questions got to be asked about it. I was listening to a psychologist last night who was talking about in the NHS. There is a problem that Afro-Caribbeans are 4 times more likely to suffer from mental illness than white folk. Do you try to treat them the same as you do the Asians, the whites, the Chinese, or any other? Well, of course you do, because as the guy quite rightly said, if somebody's got something wrong with them, you treat them for what's wrong with them. You don't treat them because they're black or they're white or they're green or they're blue or they're purple. You treat them for the problem. And the similar thing has happened with the police, as I see it, having lived in East London most of my life. If you want to see poor policing, I worked in Greenwich. I was the Labour Party organiser in Greenwich about 2 months after Stephen Lawrence was killed.
Right, yeah.
If you want to see bad policing, if you want to see bad stuff going on, you just have to visit, parts of that then. It's different today. It is a new police force. I remember distinctly, there was the big issue about the police in the Eltham area, because that's where the Stephen Lawrence stuff happened. And one of the things that happened almost at the same time is that some fire chief or some high-up person in the fire brigade visited Shooters Hill Fire Station. And he said they'd never seen. It was misogynist, it was everything that you don't want to see. I don't know if they shut the fire station down in the end or whether they just changed all the people. But when you get, this is my life, when you get somebody who puts a uniform on, all of a sudden they think there's something different. They just think they can do whatever they want because they've got a uniform on. And what doesn't happen is that the higher up you go, and I'll say it's different today, there's been a lot more training gone in, a lot more effort has gone in. But the higher up you seem to get up that chain, the worse it seems to get. And you get the chief, whatever they are, of the Metropolitan Police coming on, defending the indefensible at the bottom end. Every time an incident happened in London, the chief of police come out, and remember we had that woman, whatever her name was,
Cressida Dix.
Yeah. And she come on, and they just defend the indefensible instead of saying we're going to sort it out, we're going to change things, we're going to retrain people. It took a Tory minister of policing to come in and say to the London mayor, Boris Johnson, you will change this or we're going to take policing away from the London Authority. And then things did change.
Tim, because of the comment that Henry Noakes' father made, and then sort of politicians leap on it. I mean, obviously Nigel Farage is very good at this, saying and this is how Nigel is Mr. Farage is a canny political operator, because he says things like people should feel cold. What was it? Cold fury?
No, it wasn't. It was white fury.
Cold white fury. Okay, so fine, but then he stands back to that and said, well, I could have said there might be. He sort of stokes the fires and comes back. It's a case of of a personal plea, and then the politics saying, well, we respect what you're saying, and we respect that. However, we're going to stoke things up because that's what they think they're talking for the man on the street. I mean, do you think that politicians should, or certain sections of the political world should sort of take askers in this, because the guy has especially asked for this, Tim?
Well, first of all, I think what they failed to do, those politicians involved, is to clearly identify that this is an individual. This is somebody who, in drawing his last breath, has been handcuffed and has been read his rights as the last. As he departs this world, totally unjustly. It's a dreadful and tragic event, which his parents, or certainly his father, identified as being something that he didn't want to be dragged through the political storms and opportunism that we have to suffer. But it's rather more than political opportunism. It's very poor journalism. That we have been suffering from extremely poor journalism for a long time. The sort of sensationalist agendas that we have, even in what we used to admire as being balanced and worthwhile journalism, and they can't even use the English language properly. It seems to me, but that it's a tragic case of an individual who was falsely made to suffer at the last embers of his life. It should, with dignity, the great word dignity, have been kept entirely out of the political agenda. Those politicians who seize opportunities such as this and try to make capital out of it should be looked upon as being unworthy human beings. This is the one thing we're suffering from in politicians generally across the entire world, is a lack of humanity. Nigel Farage has made a mistake. That is a serious mistake for which he should apologise. The other thing is that the death of this poor and fortunate individual was inevitable. As far as the pathology goes, he would have died. Yeah. But it's the manner of death. It's the final dignified or undignified moments for which the police, in making the mistake they did, are responsible.
I mean, when the police get the call, I mean, it's a very confusing picture, and they rock up to, a scene. It's night time. Maybe they don't have all the information. They're going to have to make split calls, and you've got. I mean, I'm not justifying. I'm not saying this, but it is a very difficult situation, and we know that there have been incidences of racist attacks. We know that racism is, against the Jewish community. People are saying things about the Muslim community. We have a young Sikh man here. Obviously, they are telling horrendous lies about the situation, and his brother as well. And so, unfortunately, because of the way the narrative has been going for a couple of years now, they're going to think young white guy. Whereas you've got Tim, you're signalling to me.
Yes, because at some point in the hopefully not too distant future, the colour of one's skin, the religious tendency, that all of those aspects of being a human being will be removed. You won't have those things. It's not part of any agenda where you come from. I come from Adam and Eve.
And to the lines we go. 952 78 4000. Morning, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Yeah, hi, Giles. It's John in Miha.
Morning, John.
I was just, as I'd already started making the call when you made the comment, which is correct, that when the police arrive, they have to instantly decide what the situation is, and they then have to take action. That may not be right in hindsight when we all look at it from afar. However, there are something like 50,000 police officers a year in England who are assaulted. So when the police turn up to almost any scene, they sort of expect they could well be stabbed or assaulted in some way. So therefore, they've got to take the action in order to prevent that happening. In this case, in hindsight, yes, they put the cuffs on the wrong person, or put cuffs on at all. In my day, we didn't use cuffs. We didn't seem to need to, but they put them on. But then the guy said he was bleeding. Yeah. The bleeding was internal, we hear from the pathologist, so therefore it wasn't apparent at that moment. And within 3 minutes, they realised that they'd done the wrong thing, or he was dying. They took the cuffs off and did their very best to give him first aid.
Yeah.
But the problem is that, and your guests have said it this morning, that one shouldn't make instant judgments. But unfortunately, your guests are making instant judgments because they're deciding now the police were wrong. There hasn't yet been released any sort of public inquiry or police inquiry about what actually happened and why it happened in that way. And although we loved to make a comment about it in the early days, unfortunately, until we know all the facts, a bit like the Manchester police where they kicked the guy in the head.
Yeah.
When I saw it, I thought, how appalling doing that. It then subsequently turns out, because of their actions and because the guy was still armed with a knife, that was why they had to take the action they did. And I say, in hindsight, it's different. And I'm sorry, but you should not judge the police instantly, which is what you've said, but you're actually doing it. I say your guests are actually doing it. Okay, that was my point.
Thanks for the call in there.
And that's not fair. That is not fair, John, because I didn't make a snap judgment decision about the police. I'm quite clear about the whole thing. And if you listen to what's gone on, this isn't just about this young guy. It's about what happened in Nottingham. It's about what happened in Southport. It's about what happened in North London with some of the Jewish attacks that were going on. There's a whole raft of processes that the system, that society goes through. I'm not blaming the police on their own. Yes, they were wrong. And you have years of experience, John, about policing. And the first thing you were told is, don't make your mind up before you've arrived at the scene. These guys, it would seem, maybe have been influenced because the Sikh guy had rung in and said, I'm being racially attacked. And they've gone with that in their mind. Sure. Nobody's saying that they were wrong for doing that, but they received better training than that, John. You know they do. And they've turned up at a thing and they've made a decision based on previous information, not the information they've seen when they've arrived at the scene, because they knew no more about the scene than anybody else. Secondly, I did say the media don't help with this, and Tim has said it. Yeah, the media through the lot of this have been so poor at what they're saying and one-sided and biased, and then they change their mind. All of a sudden, when they find out that the Sikh guy's done all this lying, all of a sudden it's a Sikh, and then the Sikh people have to come on board because they're being attacked for other reasons. On top of that, we have the NHS, being accused of some of this stuff because they know about the mental illness of some of these people. Nearly all the people that have been involved in this had some sort of known mental illness, had some sort of arrangement that they should have been dealt with and looked after by society, wherever it is in the NHS. And on top of that, we then have the justice system that some Burke decides, and I'll say it politely, this is a guy who's a blind judge who says, oh, well, you're only 15 and you didn't really mean to stab that person, so I'll tell you what, we'll give you a second chance. It's not their right. It's not the right of a judge. It's the right of society to decide what goes on. That's why we have them. So the whole system has got something wrong that needs sorting out from top to bottom. So, John, seriously, I'm not blaming the police, but I am blaming the media, I'm blaming the police, I'm blaming the Justice Service, I'm blaming the NHS, I'm blaming everybody. And if you want to go for it, talk to the people from the Southport, the little girls that were killed.
Yeah.
The guy was known for 2 years before, but they couldn't do anything. They just pass it from one organisation to the other. None of it is joined up.
To the phones we go again. Morning, caller, you're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Yeah, hi, Alf. You did actually make an instant judgment, and I made a note of it at the time.
About the media.
Pardon?
About the media.
About the police. No, about the police. You said the police acted wrongly.
Yes, my view, they acted wrongly.
You don't know that.
I do. I know that they turned up with a predetermined outcome.
No, you don't know even that.
Yes, they arrived at the scene and they made a decision before they'd arrived. Did you see them talking to all the parties involved? The guy who did the stabbing stood there whilst the police were investigating or were talking to the guy on the floor who'd been stabbed. They never talked to him. I can watch the telly like you can, John. Why are you trying to defend the indefensible?
No, I'm not defending the indefensible. I'm saying that the police, in hindsight, will probably be shown that they acted incorrectly. But it's not necessarily incorrectly when 50,000 police officers a year attending scenes get stabbed or assaulted in some way. So therefore, when they arrive at a scene, they expect that they may get assaulted. So therefore, rather like when I was a firearms officer, you have to make your mind up instantly. You're going to shoot this person dead or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then subsequently they say, but it was an imitation gun. You shouldn't have shot him. But the instant you make your mind up, that is the moment. And I say until it's been investigated properly and all the facts, not the impressions or what you saw on TV, which I said on the Midlands thing, I saw it on TV and I jumped to the conclusion the police were wrong. And subsequently, it was proved, no, they weren't wrong. And what I'm saying is it's very, very difficult. And I know you're normally fair, Alf, but on this occasion, you cannot say the police are wrong, and you should not say what decision they made before they arrived, because you're only assuming that what you would do perhaps in your situation.
Yep, I agree, John.
Thank you very much for calling, John, as always. Take a short break and that back with more Viewpoint.
Viewpoint with
Giles Brown.
952 78 4000. Always live, always lively. We've got a full panel. Are you, Ali, are you got your chair in the I was going to say.
I was sexually threatened, I think.
You're being, the words of Monty Python, I'm being oppressed. See the violence, see the violence inherent in the system. Tim, you're an oasis of calm in this. Yeah, we've missed this one. We've missed you in this. Now, go to the WhatsApps. To the WhatsApps we go. To the WhatsApps we go, which are +34 645 99 67 95. Looking at some of the. Right, so this is an interesting one. We've got conspiracy theories already. Here we go, panel. Is there a possibility that Keir Starmer sent PR representatives to Henry's parents to advise them on what would be the best to say about the situation? Maybe. I don't think so. I think it was the common decency and grace of the man. I think that, he is, he has showed beyond and that is proper, how to say this, that is the sort of behaviour that
trying to diffuse the situation, isn't it?
And grace under pressure, and we have no idea. I mean, this is horrendous.
Which is worse, to do it and get accused of doing it for a reason, or to not do it and get accused of not caring?
No, to say to everybody.
Well, yeah, but Starmer's got no choice. He's the Prime Minister.
Yeah, just want to get through the WhatsApps, okay? Also, Mark, good morning to you, bro. Good to have you with us. It was cold rage, not white rage. The BBC added white bit into it. Whoa. Okay, thank you. Our learned friend is and meanwhile, Richard. Okay, so Uncle Nige, otherwise known as the leader of Reform UK, Richard refers to him as Uncle Nige. Uncle Nige is not canny. He just needs to appease the useful idiots, much like Donny loving the poorly educated. Some people are very hard right. They are prepared to overlook Farage's obvious criminality because they think he's on their side. They're idiots. Okay, fine, thanks for that one. Meanwhile, Richard's also said, Uncle Nigel never apologises. Police need to be prepared for any eventuality. It doesn't remove them from applying common sense. And what type of officer calls a man on the floor as mate? One didn't need to be a medic, a police officer, or even the local idiot to realise that when Noak's hand went into cuffs, he was half dead. He was totally pale. Again, we're all making judgments on what we see on a body cam. Whether Novak or was guilty or innocent, you need to check him properly. How were the police not wrong? Okay, 952 78 4000. Tim.
Yes, I think, in my opinion, those who, such as Farage and, shall we say, the American and
otherwise known as the Vice President J.D. Vance, I think we'll find him.
Oh, and that, yes,
he stuck his boot in.
The reason that they always have to have someone else to blame is because they have a fundamental lack of intellect and integrity. It has to be somebody else's fault. If you want a politician with integrity, you look at people really who are not blaming anybody else. They're taking full responsibility and looking at the actual problem. The actual problem might be the directives sent to those police officers as the perils of being found to be unfair to racial minorities. And they react because they are not very often in the lower ranks, should we say, or of great high intellect, and they will respond to those directives in what we as rational human beings, know to be inappropriate ways. And I'm not saying policing is easy. It most certainly is not, and it's highly dangerous.
Yeah.
But that's their job. And what we don't want is discriminatory, even if it's positive discrimination, coming from on high.
Discrimination is discrimination, you could argue, couldn't you?
Absolutely right, yeah.
Alia.
I was just thinking about the horrific death a few years back of George Floyd in America.
Yeah.
Do you remember when the policeman was standing on his neck for 9 minutes?
Yeah.
And all of the others around him, all the other policemen, did absolutely nothing to help. This is another thing where it all went completely upside down. And we do know that, unfortunately, policing in America is extremely bad. You have got so many rotten people in that whole system, and especially nowadays where everything is a question of being whipped up from one side or the other. I don't think the police in England are anywhere near that. At least I sincerely hope they're not. But to see these sort of things going on, and to witness them in front of us is mind-bogglingly bad. I think it's horrific.
You can't compare. That's not even chalk and cheese.
No, I did say.
I understand, Ali. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm agreeing. It's the American system, though, is based on local communities electing their local chief.
Is it policing by consent? The UK's
Yes.
got policing by consent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, sort of, yeah. Because the political side of it is because we have these people that were put in place over the top of the police. So you had local authorities at first who had police committees who looked after what was supposed to be, but they never controlled the police. You know, the local authorities couldn't tell the police what to do, what not to do, where to go, whatever. They were just there. It was like an advisory panel. And then they thought, well, that's not working properly because the local authorities, well, one, they ain't got any money, and two, they've got no power over the police. So what we'll do is we'll bring in this new group of people, an individual who's elected. So they are political, even though they might pretend they're not in a political party. They're politicised, and they're put in charge, and they're like an advisory group of people. So what you have with the British police is you have a standalone organisation. The police, Parliament is the only group that can tell the police something, and they can't even direct the police.
But you don't want Parliament directing your police.
No, and that's why I'm agreeing with you,
Yeah.
Giles. It is policing by consent.
Exactly.
The consent of society says we trust you, police, and then when we don't trust them or when something goes wrong, we have to find somebody to blame. But John's quite right in everything that happens around the police service. I've been around a few of them on both sides of the issue, and the difficulty is it because you've got no political control over this army of people who you still have to have a direction as to where they are. And the direction for the police is the justice system. And when the justice system breaks down, which it has in the UK, then the police they've got nowhere to turn to say, are we right, are we wrong? They have to justify their actions to the CPS.
Yeah, but
the CPS are understaffed, overworked. The CPS work to the justice system by judges and whatever. So you cannot run a system understaffed, underpaid, overworked, stretched, no prisons, no deterrent. You can't run a system like that. Somewhere along the line, somebody has to decide what do we want to see as a society. The only group of people who can decide what society thinks, believe it or not, is Parliament.
Yeah.
Because they represent society.
Here's the thing as well. I just, because we get the papers here, I check on the papers every day. And we've talked to, greatest respect for the police. I think the police have got a real problem at the moment because they've got no confidence they're going to get backed up, like you said, by judges. Crown Prosecution Service, interesting people. They sometimes go after cases that look a little more glamorous than bread and butter. However, the problem at the moment with policing, apart from the fact it's sort of reactive rather than proactive, is the fact that the morale is what they're doing to this thing. I mean, policing is getting incredibly hard, like prison officers, to find qualified people because every time something happens, and it's a spiral, isn't it? you've got no morale. They're losing the numbers. Who wants to go into policing? Because we seem to be having an inquiry every 2 weeks. My other, we'll come back to that in a minute. But my other thing was the media reporting on this, when they have the picture of the young man who carried out this horrendous attack. He's got a ceremony and support. They always manage to get the worst looking picture of anybody. Tim, when we were at school, there were always a couple of Sikh boys in the school. Sikhs in the British Army, they are renowned for their prowess, for being decent people. In the same way that we've had lots of Muslim pirates in the Polish Air Force, Muslim pilots in the RAF, all this sort of thing. Would it be the case that we'd be having a crack at the Gurkhas if somebody had exactly? Do you know what I'm saying? The way that they suddenly demonise these groups just because they are different. The Sikhs, absolutely. We've all known Sikhs, who are the values that they uphold, and one unfortunate with mental health problems, and suddenly we got front pages and people saying, seeing the attacks on Sikhs. Alia, your thoughts on it?
Being of the one person sitting here who's got a brown skin, apart from Tim, who's been in the sun, is now he's trying to catch up with my built-in tan.
And I forgot to put shoe polish on.
I can also say that when I came over from Sri Lanka as a little girl, I was faced with the most horrific bullying.
Yeah.
Tremendous. And it's still never, ever been eradicated, which is a shame, because we're all humans. We're all the human race. It doesn't matter where we're coming from. The mental health issue is also something that every single denomination of the human race has. Yeah. And it's not being addressed at all. We were talking when you were just looking at your screens. I brought
researching earlier.
Of course you were.
Looking at you, on a dating app.
He was researching. I beg your pardon. I brought up the fact of the horrific, the totally ridiculous sentencing of the young men who raped that poor young woman in Southport. I mean, the system there, and we were agreed, all three of us, has to be changed, because there's absolutely nothing being done. I'll shut up now.
On to the lines we go. Morning, caller. You're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Morning, Giles. It's Peter.
Morning, Peter.
Good morning. Excuse any noise. I'm stood in the street and I've missed the whole show up until about now. So I apologise for anything that I say might have already been said.
All right.
But the couple of minutes I've just listened to, I'm just hearing apples compared to pears. As a Southampton boy, born and bred, and know where that happened, walk those streets 1,000 million times. I know people who live in that area, and I know people who are at that march, and I recognise people on the videos. But what is not being reported, and the simple problem is institutional racism within many UK bodies, whether it's the police, it's the NHS, it's the court systems, it's everything. Now, for years, it was brought out that there was institutional racism, which is supposedly against non-whites. And possibly it was. But bending over backwards to eradicate that, it's been switched the other way. And there is institutional racism, two-tier policing. And before anyone says it's not, it obviously is, and this has just proven it. And also, what has not been reported, and probably nobody has realised, but as a Southampton boy, I know for a fact that a few years ago, when all the Poles came to the UK, as in the Polish, many, many of those Polish went to Southampton. So many so, there's a huge Polish community in Southampton. In actual fact, because Poles' colours are red and white, the flag, their football team playing red and white, Southampton playing red and white.
Yes, okay,
now, this is serious, Giles. Southampton used to print the back of the programme at Southampton football matches in Polish, because we have such a huge Polish following. I have Polish friends. A Polish person bought my security company off the person I sold it to. A friend of mine is in partnership with a Polish guy. They run a property company and a maintenance company. My point is, what was the guy's surname who was murdered?
Nowak.
And that is?
That's
Polish.
It sounds like a Polish name.
It sounds like a Polish name. Now, as far as I understand, and the people I've spoken to, a huge amount of those protesters were Polish. Now, they're white, they're Christian, they're a minority group, but absolutely nothing has been said. And the reason they were up in arms, and I don't know whether Henry Nowak and his family are long-time Polish descendants, recent Polish descendants, or whether the Polish community know them well, or whether it's just because it's a Polish name.
Yeah.
So there,
That's an interesting take. That's an interesting take on it. I
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
So that's what, but they won't report on that because they have to go after a white minority group. Now, they're happy to defend minority groups, but are they going to defend the Polish? Are they going to say that the Polish have had enough? And, as I said, the Polish are very hard, very good workers.
Yeah.
I know many, many of them.
But again,
and they are up in arms because of the... And another thing, sorry, Giles, but another thing is Southampton is a very, very diverse place. When I was a kid, we grew up in and around what they call the jungle.
Yeah.
Now, that's always been named as that. And I don't know if anyone remembers, there used to be a program called Benefit Street, which was ridiculous. And it got turned on the very last one into Immigration Street. Now, when I think it was Channel 4 tried to film down there, they had stones thrown up and they were shooed away because something like 160 countries were represented out of 192 in and around that area. And they said they've only come there to cause problems. Yeah. Southampton is very, very diverse, always has been. I used to work in standard telephone cables, Southampton Dock, and 40% of those were Indians and a handful of Pakistanis, and Sikhs were there. And a very good friend of mine, Mandar, was a Sikh who wore the kara, who wore the knife. Never, ever would he wear that other than to or from a ceremonial thing. Yeah. Now, there's plenty of ceremonial stuff out there. There's the Tiranglu, the Scottish down the sock. There's the staff. There's ceremonial swords. I don't call for any of those to be banned because I'd be a hypocrite because I don't want guns banned. But murder is murder. Killing is killing. Yeah. Regardless whether you do it with a car, a bat, or a baseball bat, or anything. That's the law. Yes. No one should be above the law because of their religion or their colour. It's institutional racism that is rife through the UK, Great Britain, and it's anti-white, and something needs to be done about it. Although it probably won't.
Brilliantly put.
Okay.
Really brilliantly put. Thank you so much, my friend, and thank you for that one. Got to take a break and then more Viewpoint.
Viewpoint with
Giles Brown.
Always live, always lively. Joined in the studio by Tim Stafford, Alf Brewer, and Alia Babapule.
Can I just say, Peter, absolutely right. You've come back exactly to where I started. The media plays such a massive role in all of this, right at the very beginning. They report in, and the first thing they report is what tends to lead the fray of what's going to come, second, third and fourth. And like you, my connection to the Polish community, they're actually Second World War people. Yeah. It was in Sheffield. You want to see another huge Polish community, go to Sheffield, massive. Lots of the people who worked for the GPO, both as postmen.
I'm just amazed by the telecommunications thing we have here, because Peter was working for
he worked for a manufacturing company called Standard Telephone Cables.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I stand corrected.
Alf is like a little head of a directorate of all things that need to be known about the people who phone in.
Exactly. May I just interject?
You may interject, my learned friend.
To say that there's far, far too much divisive analysis, not in this show, but in the general, of who comes from where and the colour of their skin. The point is that, that's the first thing that will arise. Somebody has just suggested, quite rightly, that there's probably an inverse racism going on here as far as the coverage is concerned. But that, and about policing. It's all very well to have quibbles about the nuts and bolts of police officers performing their duties, but that... and why not? And a criminal justice system failing in some ways with sentencing. But these are minor quibbles in a civilized society compared with what we now know in our historical readings to be the appalling nature of policing, which can be Gestapo form, where these people are not accountable to our criminal justice system. And this is, ICE and these things that arise. We should be at all times vigilant over our police forces to prevent them falling into a place where they are unaccountable. So they need to be criticised correctly when things are wrong and given some sympathy for the difficult job that they do. This is a very unfortunate series of events, particularly for the person who lost his life. But to drag the event, the very personal, undignified end of a good person, into a political storm is really...
Here's the thing, you see, it's all very well... Everybody can have a going, the policing's really bad and the whole thing, and, until somebody comes over, somebody comes over your wall, and, and takes...
Exactly.
And then you...
more.
Yeah, because, I always say that's for people who sort of glamorise criminals, and they say, it's all very well, but what, when you actually meet them in real life, they don't all love their mums.
And Pete used the term. I find it's strange. Institutional racism, institutional policing, institutional whatever it is institutional. And I don't think. I mean, they've changed that term now about 6 times because not many people understand what institutional means. It's not every big company. No, it's not. It's the police, it's the fire brigade, it's the NHS, it's all of your ex-state industries that provided social services because they were run in a certain way from many, many years ago and technically it's never really changed over the time. When I worked for the I'll go back to... I worked for the GPO, which became British Telecom.
Yep.
But we had a system that was based on how the British Army was run in India. So if you did something wrong, you was given a piece of paper, a P18 piece of paper, and it says, please explain why. And you were then supposed to write down, please explain why you were late this morning. Please explain why something else has happened. Please explain. On a piece of paper. It was designed by the British Army in about 1820, and they still use it. Well, they don't use it today because BT don't really exist. But even up until the time I left BT in 1994, they still had these archaic systems derived from, and you can take almost any of the organisations and they're all run on what happened when we ruled the world.
Is this like the dog ate my homework sort of thing?
Well, Tim, but the seriousness is you don't find it in Fords, you don't find it in Vauxhall, you don't find it in the tractor companies, you don't find it in the chemical companies, because they're not institutions, they're private companies that have grown. You go to GlaxoSmithKline, you don't find all that junk in there. GSK is one of the world's biggest pharmaceutical companies. You don't find all that junk like you do in the police or in the fire service or in the whatever you want to go. Why is it, seriously, why is it that the NHS today are still being accused of racism because black people, especially in maternity, are treated differently than everybody else? And they go, well, because it's a different type of way of dealing with it. But nobody will sit down and say what manager in the NHS, and there are thousands of them, believe you me, they have more buildings than they do hospitals for the managers. And you go, so who tells them how to teach people down at the bottom end who are nurses doing the best job that they possibly can, how they've got to behave in an environment that is multicultural?
I'm just recovering from the possibilities that the fact that British Telecom was based on the British Army in India, and imagining the conversations where somebody says, for goodness sake, the phones are down in Limehouse, don't worry, we're sending in the Queen's own Dagenham Lancers.
Yeah, also, since I've got this quite impressive tan.
Yes, indeed.
I've found that people are treating me differently.
Yes, that's because of the dagger that you're wearing.
It's your turban, Tim.
Yes.
You actually have got a sort of a semi-Nero shirt on this one. I mean, if you
yes, he does.
Yeah, you're not the Messiah, just a very naughty boy, Timothy.
I think it's your shorts, actually.
My short trousers. Well,
It's his knees that give it away.
It's your knees that give it away.
I'm trying to make light of the colour of one's skin.
Yeah, indeed. But it's the lowest common denominator. It's the lowest common
of something that's brown.
But again, it just strikes me that it's the lowest common denominator, and they go for this thing, and it is absolutely shocking. Right, we're coming to the end of the first half of this morning's Viewpoint. It's absolutely flown by. Back in the second half, after national and international news, we'll be continuing on this. Just some last comments on this one. Question for the panel: Are Sikhs legally allowed to carry knives in England?
Yes.
For ceremonial?
Yes.
Like the Scots are.
The Dirk, yeah. And yes, but ceremonial, yes. And
the Irish.
And
Don't
the
the
Liverpudlians
Irish have some sort of...
Well, I know the Liverpudlians have Stanley knives, but that's a different...
No, the Irish wear kilts and do all their ceremonial
the Dirk,
stuff.
No,
that's the Scots.
Yeah, okay, I know that.
I think the Irish have a similar thing, certainly in Northern Ireland. Because I've been to one of their things where they had them.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of... Anyway, so we're going to go to a break now, and then we're back for the second half of Viewpoint after national and international news. Back after this.
Talk Radio Europe.
Your voice in Spain. Discuss, challenge, inform, comment. Viewpoint on Talk Radio Europe.
Giles Brown.
Live comment and discussion with studio guests. Viewpoint.
Always live, always lively. Viewpoint with you for the next hour. Then Stephen Ritson takes over for Europe Today, live from our studios on the Costa Blanca. I'm back in the second. I'm back at 2:00, standing in for Selena, and with the lifestyle show between 2 and 4 today. Following me will be Hannah with TRE in the afternoon. Her guests today will include Julie Talbot, who's also talking to the brilliant team at B Spain Savvy. If you've not heard them before, please give them a listen at 5:10 and also Debbie Arnold, actress and ambassador of the Care Workers charity. It's Carers Week, so that's happening on Hannah's show before I'm back again. Looks like tomorrow morning, standing in for Daybreak. 95278 4000 is the phone number. studio@tre.radio is the email. The Facebook page is Talk Radio Europe Official. Should you wish to be involved, my guests today on the panel, Ali Babapule, Alf Brewer, and Tim Stafford. So, I've already got some points in on via the WhatsApps. Here's one for the panel. We laugh at America for treating guns like a personality trait. We point to countries like Australia as proof that tougher gun laws save lives. And in England, we are proud that people cannot just walk around armed. So why would we allow a loophole where someone can carry a weapon because of religion? Tim?
Well, ceremonial issues arise, but an offensive weapon is something that is carried with intention and with no obvious use apart from to be offensive. So, and also there are stipulations within law of the size, the length of the blade in the sense of knives. And, one has to be sort of, let's say, rational about what a person is going to do in attending a religious service or affirmation or whatever. A Scot carrying a sort of ceremony. It's very, very different to those who might habitually carry offensive weapons in the streets. It is actually in law that, these things are addressed. But knife crime is a serious issue, and it partly explains why the police might react, in some cases, slightly disproportionately, because how are they to know if knife crime or somebody is carrying a knife?
I also, to be frank, I think, again, this is a media thing. I don't think that you can just wander around the streets, whether they're ceremonial or otherwise. I don't think you can wander around the streets with daggers or whatever on show. If you see a Scottish person with their dirk or whatever it's called down their sock, you don't see them walking around the street. You see them either at a ceremony somewhere.
A wedding. Where you can wear it at a wedding.
Well,
incidentally, the Irish tag is called a scian.
Skiing, there you go.
Right, okay.
So I don't think there is this random, you can just wander around the streets with a weapon. And seriously, I mean, I had a mate, and his job in a pub was to collect the guns off of people as they come into the nightclub.
I never knew you were a mate of Wyatt
They
Earp's.
did- well,
I've
yes,
got some
people
phone calls coming in.
It does happen, you know. People do carry guns. It's just that they don't have them on show. You don't see them, and they don't brandish them. These are thugs.
To the lines before you be all part of drawing weapons, to the lines we go. Morning, caller, you're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Yeah, hi again, Giles. It's John. Just I missed a bit there because someone phoned me. Offensive weapons in England. There are three types of offensive weapons in England. One is the weapon that is made, like a knuckle duster or a sword. That is an offensive weapon to have it. There's then the one that you've modified. So you've taken, in the old days, like a metal comb, and you've sharpened the teeth to use. That's an offensive weapon. And the third type is a totally innocent item which is being used as an offensive weapon. And for each of those, there's power of arrest and prosecution. Hello?
No, absolutely
right.
correct.
Giles was talking to somebody.
No, just quickly though. We've got Marley. Just say hello quick. We've got Marley who is visiting the studio. Say hello, Marley.
Hello.
There you go. Right, so Marley is trying to learn everything about radio, and so he thought to drop in and see how
came to the right
came
place.
came to the wrong show.
He's brought in here so that he'll learn how not to do it.
Yes, exactly.
He will learn nothing from me.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
And I want to know, Giles, why don't you just at the beginning? Why don't you just tell people how often you're not on? Rather than how many times you are on.
Yes,
all
indeed.
day.
John, thank you very much for your call in, my friend. Good to have you on air again as well.
Okay.
Yeah. 952 78 4000 is the phone number. Just looking at the not the regulations, but this whole thing about when people can carry. So this is a kirpan. This is the ceremonial dagger, which is one of apparently the 5 acts, 5 articles of faith for practicing Sikhs, because they all begin with the letter K in Punjabi. I wasn't aware of this. So the others are kesh, keeping uncut hair, which is managed in a turban, which is obviously I'm unable to do that. Kara, a round steel bracelet. Kanga, a small wooden comb. And kachera, wooden shorts. So that is why. The government says it's up to the courts to decide if a person has good reason to carry a knife or weapon if they're charged with carrying it illegally. You can carry the kirpan for religious, ceremonial, sporting, historical reasons, but a kirpan can become an offensive weapon if it's used unlegally. My learned friend,
just to affirm what was said there about offensive weapons, that indeed anything can be an offensive weapon. If you a baseball bat, a cricket bat even, although less so, and anything that could be used to cause physical harm if carried with intent. If you're attending ceremonies of a good reason to have, then I don't see any particular reason why that should be outlawed. But anything could be indeed an offensive weapon if carried in, let's say, into a night. You walked into a nightclub with a baseball bat, you should deserve to be arrested and taken away.
But also, because of the football stuff, I mean, Alia would know this, but I can't remember what it's called. But there used to be a steel comb that had a long, thin bit that you spat comb in.
I was just thinking the same thing.
So if you went to a football match, they used to sharpen that end so it becomes a knife. So after about, I would guess, 2 seasons of seeing all this, the police, started searching people when they came in to take those combs off of. And then it gets to seriously stupid things after that. People wearing Doc Martin boots at a football ground, you had to take the laces out. If you had a belt on, you had to take the belt off your trousers. It was all... But it wasn't the whole ground. It wasn't the majority of people. It was just the trouble areas. You knew, if you went to the shed end at Chelsea, you knew that the police... I say that, Charles, because you remember it for the amount of times when you used to go and see them lose. You knew that you would be searched, or you knew you'd be watched. And it even got to the stage, at one stage, where if you had too many coins in your pocket, they would make you empty out the coins, because these idiots used to file down the edge of the old pennies, the big
indeed.
pennies.
50p coins.
No, that's not old enough.
I'm decimal.
You're too young, mate.
Decimal,
I'm talking about 1D pennies, and they used to file the edges down and then stand at the back of the shed end, or any of the ground, North Bank, where I used to go at West Ham. And from,
Really?
Yeah, because it would hit people on the head and whatever.
So it's a marvellous game.
I would like to say that one time, many years ago, sitting at a dinner table, I found myself wearing a very hot spaghetti bolognese. She had decided to use that bolognese as an offensive weapon. But the point is,
if the pasta's al dente,
I would have had a hard job persuading a judge, and after all, law is commonsensical, that she had the intention in cooking that bolognese.
To kill you with bolognese.
I almost drowned in a chili con carne on the Tottenham Court Road at a place called Break for the Border, but I was slightly overtrained, and I did fall forward into this bowl and it was only because it was a group of friends, and it was only when they could see me bubbling in that somebody pulled my head back. There may have been something stronger than a shandy involved with that.
I walked around when I was training in the ballet school with weapons. They were my point shoes. They were so hard in front, of course, because when you're going up on point, all the front part of your shoe is rigid. Yeah. And
we call them toe protectors today.
Oh, are they? Well, because my point shoes were lethal weapons.
You were basically from Russia with love.
What's it crab? Holly Golightly.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Here's a weird fact. This is a weird fact that you learn when you do this political junk. Is that every Punjabi on the planet can trace their ancestry back to, I don't know if it's 5 or 6 villages in the Punjab, because that's where they all started.
Right.
And every single one of them can trace their ancestry back all that way. I think it's 220 years now.
Right.
All the way. And you go, wow, so every Punjabi... Well, if you go to Leicester or the edge of Birmingham and talk to the Punjabis, they all know each other. They are all family, whatever anybody says. And yet you couldn't get a more, in my view, a more integrated part of society in Great Britain than the Punjabis.
952 78 4000. Here comes Richard. I'm not sure how he hangs out. He said one could kill someone with a biro. Okay, I'm not going...
James Bond.
Exactly. I could kill you with this spoon. Also, breaking news, thank you for sending me this. The teen has been charged, talking about religious intolerance and racial profiling, etc. Teen charged over Golders Green ambulance attack. This will be the attacks, of course, on the disgraceful attacks on the Jewish ambulances that we saw burnt out earlier. Case law in the UK in 2005 stated that even a butter knife can be classed as a bladed article in a public place. You see, so we're back to the Bolognese protocol there. Finally, I thought...
That would be assault and buttery.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why we do Viewpoint. And that's why we have Tim Stafford on the panel.
Were you sprinkled with Parmesan?
Indeed.
Yes.
There you are.
I thought the weapon, meanwhile, seriously, I thought the weapon that killed Novak was a Pesh Kabaz. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Well, it wasn't a ceremonial knife.
It wasn't a ceremonial. The Kirapan wasn't yet the. So, and a picture of Rosa Klebb there, sending in the picture of the shoes. So there we go. If you've done ballet with those shoes, you know the ones I'm talking about.
I do. I saw the film too.
Oh, yeah. That's my Christmas staple.
Wonderful.
Right.
You can kill somebody with a credit card.
Yes, as several husbands probably had heart attacks after the wives come back from shopping in Marbella.
You obviously watch the same films that I do, because I was watching a film only the other night where a guy killed somebody with a credit card.
There you are.
Yeah, indeed. So Richard's come back and said, say goodnight, Tim. OK. A quick break and then back with more Viewpoint.
Viewpoint with
Giles Brown.
Always live, always lively. We're into 21 minutes past 11 o'clock with you for the next 40 minutes or so. If you carry a baseball bat without the baseball, it can be treated as an offensive weapon. If you carry the ball with it, you're okay.
Two offensive weapons.
Well, you could say, I mean, Tim, my learned friend, you'd probably say, well, I hid it over there somewhere, and I'm looking, can I have my ball back?
I could, but would I be credible in court if, I've never played baseball in my life?
You wouldn't be credible. You wouldn't be credible in court wearing bolognese anyway.
This is also true. 952-78-4. Shall we move off this particular subject? I just want to look at some other bits and pieces that have been crossing at least my radar newswire. This is the announcement, and this has been rumbling on for a while now. The Labour Party making. I'm not going down the election thing. I'm looking at the Sir Keir Starmer saying he wants to be bringing an Australian type bill about young people's access to the internet, sort of stopping people getting involved. Young people viewing content that's not. This kind of can link into our first subject. But there's the stuff that is appearing online that is warping children's mind. Well, not warping children, but they're seeing content that in our generation. We wouldn't be able to get our hands on this, or furtively we'd have been able to get it. But Ali, I know that this concerns you because obviously you have children. You're a child bride, obviously, but you've got grandchildren, etc. But it is something that is, I have goddaughters who are online constantly. You've got daughters, girls, and grandchildren. And grandchildren. Mm-hmm. Alf, we know about.
I only have an army.
Yeah, you've got an army of kids, haven't you? So, this is something that the Prime Minister Keir Starmer, he needs. I don't want to go down politics of what situation Summer, because we can do that on after we've had the election results from Macclesfield. But this is something that he needs something to base to be a standpoint on. This is something that is concerning. It kind of crosses all borders, all the political stances on this one, surely. So
crosses all parties.
Exactly. That's the word I'm looking for.
Cross-party issue.
Ali, perhaps more easily because your grandchildren, adorable as they are they're now 4,
8 and 5.
8 and 5. Okay.
8 and 5. The 5-year-old is going 40.
Right, and the 8.
I know.
Right,
yeah,
but
you saw Elaine last time when she was pregnant.
Exactly, but blimey. So, but what I'm saying is, 8 years old. This is there used to be the joke: if you can't get your computer to work, ask an 8-year-old. So, but this is something. Exactly. But this is something that must concern any parent, any grandparent.
Thank goodness. Well, I'm sure our children and our. From the panellists, at least sitting here, we've taught our children to be sensible with the use of social media. However, it is so easy for children not at home to get onto their friends' appliances and so on and so forth. I know that my daughter and son-in-law have banned smartphones from the children until they're 16. They're not going to get them. And
that's a big stance.
My son-in-law is something of which I can't tell you about, and he knows.
You have to kill us.
With that spoon.
Exactly.
With
a knife.
The Tim's butter knife.
And he sees so much stuff going on, which is frightening. And he says there's no way those children of mine are going to get onto smartphones. They can have a little phone for an emergency. That's it. And at home, also, they're not allowed to watch willy-nilly programs. They're always strictly controlled, which is something, I think, which a lot of parents don't do because they're tired, they're fed up, they've got problems at home. The children come home, they stick them in front of the television, or they're up in their rooms with their computers and so on. And a general overview is not controlled enough. If unfortunately that is the case, and it is in a lot of countries everywhere, I do think that what Keir Starmer is doing is a very good thing, because this is a sort of control which should be generalised everywhere. I mean, Australia have banned social media for anyone under 16 years, which is not a bad thing.
Doesn't work.
It probably won't work.
No, the Australians have said it doesn't work.
But, even just the thought of having something like that, people who are responsible in government at least trying to do something to make this whole social media problem far less. Unfortunately, as you said, Alf, it's not going to work, but at least it should be some kind of a deterrent.
I would say that as a general rule, one thinks that prohibition, is going to lead to criminality and speakeasies, so we have an aversion to it, but. And of course, there's the other thing, which is parental guidance and morality, which the morality of the child, which can be prevention. But of course, they're not legislating for moral and well-guided families. They're legislating for the less well-guided.
They're not. But that's the issue. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, my thing as well is this, that when we grew up, right? We could turn. There were no phones, I mean, I won't even go down and sort of dial a disc and all that. Well, exactly. But the thing is, when you're a teenager, right? And when you're developing, your mind's developing, your body's developing, you've got anxiety, the whole thing, a whole load of. But your mind is a whirlpool of thoughts and feelings on the whole situation. Okay, and the last thing you need to be doing then is to be in touch with something that can amplify those feelings, make you feel more insecure, and send you off. I was bad enough, as a goth when I was 14, reading sort of bad poetry and writing awful songs and that. If I had it and I was there sort of painting me little toy soldiers. But if I had access to the internet, I mean, who knows where I would? I mean, it's bad enough where I ended up now. But you see what I'm saying with this one?
There were things that were coming along, and they did try to control it, and they've never been able to control it. For instance, if you went into, I know I'm a bit older than you people. No, I'm not older than Alia, and she might remember. You went into a newsagent's. Top shelf was all magazines in plastic bags, so you couldn't see them. And you go, and that stopped the kids at school having Penthouse or whatever. Did it else stop them? No, it never. And the same thing is happening with this. What is serious about what's going on for the last 3 years, possibly a bit less, is about how the issue has been raised to the forefront of all conversations. This is the damage it's doing to kids. This is the damage that it's doing to adults. This is the damage it's doing to society. AI, then they're now talking about. Yeah. We've got to be able to manage it. Now, let's not say control it or ban it or whatever. And Tim mentioned one bit. And Alia certainly did, and certainly happens in my family. Parental control. If the parents are irresponsible, it doesn't matter what you say to the kids. If the parents are irresponsible, and I can take you to thousands of them, then the kids will do it anyway, irrespective. But if you've got parental control, it helps. By talking about these things at national level and threatening whatever, it acts as a sort of deterrent. It's the same as they put signs up on the road, don't they? And it says 80 kilometres an hour, and you still see people driving at 100, 120, 140 kilometres because it's there as a deterrent. It's not there to say if you drive past this post you're going to get nicked, because that doesn't happen. And the third biggest issue for me is where the companies stand in all of this. They have an easier way of controlling whatever goes out. I mean, the thing that they were talking about yesterday was about nudism, kids photographing themselves and sending it on to others. And these companies, they know from the technology, these companies can stop that instantly. Of course they can. Okay, so the issue, listen to Jess Phillips occasionally. She ain't silly. Jess Phillips and the new security minister, and they're saying exactly the same thing. Why have we got to wait 3 months to tell Apple to stop this issue?
It should be done.
Why have we got to wait 3 months to tell Google or anybody? No, do it. Do it. And then the second threat, I was listening to the woman who's been doing this for years, and she's saying not only should you issue the thing that says the company should stop it now, But you should introduce the legislation now that says, and if you don't, we're going to do this straight away. So what they're going to say in 3 months' time, is, oh, we've reviewed it, and we're now going to think about writing legislation. We're now going to think about writing legislation to make sure that these companies abide by it. So first of all, the companies need to do it, and secondly, you need the law to say that. Why have we got to wait 3 months?
Now, you see, the thing is, we're all here talking about what young people are going through, and the thought just struck me that we've actually got a young person in the studio. And, Marley, good morning to you, mate.
Good morning.
Right then, I'm sorry to put you on the spot here, okay, but just tell, first of all, how old are you, Marley?
16.
Right, so we're all talking about social media and what it's like to be a young person, and we're obviously, you must be sitting there going, oh, for goodness sake, these old fossils don't know what they're talking about. And of course, you're a 16-year-old, you're based here in Spain, you've grown up with the internet, you've grown up with social media, with smartphones and whatever. I mean, and, obviously this is radio, but you're from, originally from, was it Morocco, further south in there, aren't you?
Yeah, Morocco.
Morocco. So, but you're to put this nicely, you're a young man of a very good-looking young man of colour. All right, in Spain. We're talking about racism. Ali has come from Sri Lanka. Tim that's is darker than whatever because he's been all day by the pool.
And I come from East London.
You come from East London.
Don't speak properly.
You must see two things here. Is the fact that you get social media and the bullying and the pressure and what it kind of can put on young people. I mean, do you feel sometimes it's like I can't handle this anymore?
I wouldn't say personally that I do because I'd say I'm quite mature.
Right.
But I can see, for example, in my friends and in other people, I can see how it can take a toll on them. But I think it's inevitable at the end of the day. Like, racism, it's going to happen. And I think it's not necessarily about completely shutting it out, but I think about how to kind of solve it and how to tackle it.
Because the thing was, back in the day, if we had somebody, picking on somebody, it was, if you could walk out of the classroom, that was it, you shut it off, it was gone for the day. But if you're I'm not saying that you spend all day on your internet, but, my goddaughters who I live with, one's 18, one's 14, and they are like that all day. And so people can pick on bullying on people. I know, kids who, young guys who were basically their friends said that they were like mariquitas because they didn't like watching porn at lunchtime. And this is a very good school because the guys used to get together and watch the porn sites. And he was like, I don't want to do this. And he was getting really bullied because he didn't want to be one of the lads. That sort of pressure.
I think, talk about like shutting it down, but I think if you do just, for example, like you said, walk out of a classroom or block someone online, it doesn't solve the issue. I think it's more so of an escape rather than finding an actual solution to it. So I think it'd be a lot better and a lot, I think, easier over time to actually try to find a solution to solving the problem instead of just shutting it down or shutting it off.
There's got to be, education. Do you think it's like people have got to be aware of the consequences of their actions? Because it's all very easy to do like or write saying, well, that's just the sort of, that's just how these people are, and push the button because it's all, everything's a TikTok, is a 30-second meme, is whatever.
In school now, especially in my school, I see racism like every single day, but I think it's been completely diluted and it's been like, I think it's almost been turned into a joke now where people just say things that are racist and that should be considered racist, but it's not necessarily considered racist and people laugh at it. And I think it's gotten to the point where that's kind of where racism has kind of been integrated in everyone's day-to-day life because of things like you said, like memes and social media.
Are you at Spanish school? Are you at a Spanish school or
international?
International school. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Would you can you imagine yourself being persuaded by your exposure to social media to do something that you knew to be wrong?
No, because I think I personally have a level of self-respect and moral grounds. So no, I think I'm quite grounded in myself.
That's interesting because you were talking about Alf was talking about the parents, and you can't suddenly say, okay, we're going to bring in a law and it's going to make every little scrote who's on social media suddenly behave like a good person. If you haven't got that backing and you haven't been brought,
haven't been brought up right.
Yeah. So if there was a ban in social media, presumably all your mates, because I mean, I always find that legislation is like 3 years behind technology. So by the time they try and put a ban on this, you know, one of your lot will have found a way to get around that ban and be showing it out.
That is true. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just fascinated by the way that you casually said, well, yeah, but racism is just a thing, and we kind of it's kind of expected. I mean, you know, you're a young black man. There are guys from Morocco in your class. There are presumably people from all over. I mean, Ali was talking about her experiences coming to the UK from Sri Lanka. I mean, that kind of puts my mind that you don't go. I'm not having that. I'm not standing up for that. I mean, Ali, you must think something about with your perspective to Molly's perspective.
I still am called a morena.
Yeah.
Which can't be taken one way or the other, even today. And it always amuses me because I've said this before. We have people who are of a white colour who are trying to get my colour and Molly's by lying in the sun and doing... It's true. And I am called a morena.
Spaghetti. You're not wearing spaghetti
No, I don't have the spaghetti on my hair. I'm so sorry. But don't you think that's right, Molly?
Yeah, I think especially because I used to live in Mozambique, and coming to Spain after that, there's a massive contrast, especially with like, you can definitely see it in like the older generation of Spanish people. They'll call black people moreno and things like that, just casually, very, very casually. And you can see that that's obviously the way they've been brought up, you know.
And then we idiots join in. So when you go to Malaga, there's the Guiri army. Yeah. And you go, no, take that flag down. Get rid of it. Right? I'm not a Guiri. Right?
But
but it's done, like I was agreeing with Marley, it's not done in an offensive, abusive way. It's just things that happen. And I do speak with a little bit of experience because two of my grandchildren are dual nationality because their father come from Zimbabwe. Mm-hmm. And like you, at school, there was nothing really, but then even they felt the racism that was there under the surface. Yeah. And they've got a white mum who's a teacher at the school. You know, and they see it all the time, but after a little while it becomes, it's just jokey stuff. Yeah. And that's the problem, because it was the jokey stuff in the UK that turned into real racism. Mm-hmm. You know, when I was a kid, and this isn't being abusive to anybody, any black kid in the school was called Chalky. Yeah. Anybody. Yeah. Any Irish person was called Paddy. Any Scots was called Jock. Yeah, it just went on.
I think we've just insulted enough people there, Alf. But it's retro insults.
But you don't hear that today. You don't hear that today. And if it is heard, it's done in a jokey, non-abusive way. But it's still, if you don't kill it out, it will take over.
May I just add that on several occasions on this particular radio show, I've been accused of being a middle-class relic or something like that, you know, white middle-class relic, that's it. Yeah. And you know, it's a dreadful slur.
It's dreadful slur. You're posh, you're not middle class.
Well, no, whatever. But
anyway, just to bring this little segment to an end, because I'll let you go back to the thing. But I'm just thinking,
learn how not to do a radio show.
Well, exactly, learn how to do a radio show. But here's the thing, you know, we're talking about Spain, and you know, you're a young man in Spain now, and we've got the World Cup coming up, and two of the biggest players, Nico Williams and Yamal. I mean, it must really. You see, for the Spanish of a certain generation who go, it's España por España, and then they see, you know, role models like that, because we're all, you know, I mean, we will remember.
Or Mbappe.
Or we remember sort of like when, you know, black players started playing for England and there was a huge, you know, Viv Anderson and all that sort
just playing football.
So, I mean, that's got to be an interesting one as well, growing up being in Spain right now with the World Cup coming out and all that sort of thing for you.
Yeah, I think I see a lot of people get taken aback by it, by like some of the biggest stars being black, and kind of taking over now. And I don't know, it's quite nice to see it because it just kind of shows, not necessarily how we're not afraid, but just kind of how there's more, I guess, coloured talent coming into the world, and there's more people who are not afraid to like stand up and do what they love doing just because of other people. you know.
There's a in the sort of giant repository of racism in the USA. There's a wonderful film made in the 50s with Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy, where
Guess who's coming to dinner?
yes, indeed, and he's the black guy who's the
Sidney Poitier.
Who's a great actor, or the coloured guy, or whatever you want to call it, but comes in and he turns out to be a surgeon, and of course is a great example of how these two racist white people, or formerly racist, react to the great merits of this very considerable guy.
Right.
Police was one as well.
Blimey, that's showing the age. Right, going to take a break now. Marley, thank you so much. I just dragged you on there, your face. Well, but absolutely, that's for you. Is that your first time on radio?
Yeah.
A Star is Born. Marley will be running my shows from next Tuesday onwards. Marley, thank you.
This is how the sports kids started, remember?
Yeah, exactly. Marley, brilliant. Thanks so much for getting involved.
Thank you very much for having me.
Viewpoint on Talk Radio Europe with Giles Brown.
Always live, always lively. I was going to say in the studio, representing the tanned corner, Tim Stafford. Tim, yes, we're into the last 15 minutes, by the way. If you want to get your viewpoints across, these are the numbers you can get in touch with me for this morning's Viewpoint.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
So, Tim Stafford, Alf Brewer and Ali Babapule and special guest. What's your surname? I've known you since you were 2, Marley. What's your surname? Hamza Jury Roberts. Sorry? Hamza Roberts. Jury Roberts. The third. I'm waiting for your business cards. You're gonna have to have like a file of facts. You don't know what a file of facts is. Hamza,
file of facts. That's showing my age.
I know.
Saturday morning.
Marley, Hamza Drury, Roberts, the third. Okay, now into this Ali Babapuli as always. Really fascinating, really interesting stuff. Well, I mean, I know he's still in the room, but to get that, he's just, to get that, I found to get that opinion over, because we sit here and we pontificate.
It's a very concise opinion. Yeah. It wasn't waffling around, which is nice, and it's coming from a 16-year-old.
We get from me.
Coming from a 16-year-old, which is an extremely up-to-date view on what's going on.
Here's something. When Marley talks about racism, this is Richard, I saw it with homosexuality growing up in the 90s, and where being gay was the joke, yeah, of course. Alas, everything now, as he states, has been diluted. I mean, we remember growing up, I'm free from are you being served and all that sort of thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I thought, Mum... all sorts of
the Benny Hill show.
Benny Hill.
Oh my God!
How wonderful was that for racism and sexism and misogyny?
Wouldn't it be interesting if people like Marley and a couple of his intelligent friends, if you've got those.
He goes to Study Grande. They're all intelligent.
All right. Well, if there were a radio show in which the viewpoint, I mean, after all, what do we hear, and apart from our own children, about young people's opinion? Yeah. Not much.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks for that. Okay, I shall. We'll talk about. Come to my studio later. Exactly. Here we go. This one from this is from Celeste saying, interesting conversation. You see, you've started it. You've done it now. I, a Caucasian, lived in Hong Kong for a long time and I used to get called Goelo to my face by locals, which of course we know means white ghost. So and people say, oh, there's a secret word. I remember the Daily Express saying the secret code word the Spanish used to and it was giddy, and it was like, that's
sorry, I pronounced it wrong.
If it's a secret,
can't even do that right.
Here we go. Morning, GB. Great guests. Only made better by the addition of that charming young man, Marley. Yes. All the best from Peter B. He's blushing. Look at that, you see. There you go. A Star is Born. Right into the last 11 minutes of this morning's Viewpoint. If you want to get your viewpoint across, if it's something local, national or international, these are the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Into the last 10 minutes of this morning's Viewpoint here on Talk Radio, your voice in Spain. Of course, don't forget, following me will be Stephen Ritson with the issues of talking about the issues of the day.
I was trying to find something because I thought today we might mention just a little bit about some little war that's going on in Iran and some advice for Trump. So I found this quote that says, "We have learnt that sensitive diplomacy must be backed by the threat of military force if it is to succeed." Which is exactly where Trump is now, isn't it? But he's only threatening it, he's not doing it. And that was Kofi Annan, the UN General Secretary, the first time round.
Yeah,
and it's called. Well, if Trump is so wrong, I'm not defending him, but if he's so wrong, the UN General Secretary is saying that. And what came back in the reverse was, "For a secure and hopeful life, let us build a coalition for peace instead of war and hostility," as President Saeed Mohammed Khatami of Iran in 2001. This is unbelievably so far away from where we are today, because we've got an American president who's maybe doing this but not leading to an end product. We've got an Iranian government that is certainly not the same as this guy in 2001, and there seems to be, this is like me talking about Gaza and the Middle East conflict 10 years ago when we started talking with Gil and people like that. There's no end solution to any of this. This is continuation.
Diplomacy used to be the art of, what was it, speak softly and carry a big stick. So you would use diplomacy, and then if you couldn't, you'd use the big stick. And Churchill famously said diplomacy was the art of telling people to go to hell in a way that they thought they would quite enjoy the journey. Ali, you're dying to get in.
Excuse me.
All right.
The problem is with the present administration in the US, they are so convinced that what they're doing is right, that they are not willing to take a step back and see what they have done wrong, which is an awful lot. I mean, it comes back again to Iran and the Strait of Hormuz, which was open. The fact that President Obama had a deal which was knocked through 4 years of diplomatic maneuverings to get the uranium taken off the board, and so on and so forth, which Trump tore up. And now he's got himself into a huge morass, which he can't get out of, neither one way nor the other. No matter what he does, it's going to be wrong. Iran have always said, we will go back to doing what we did before. But
that's a friend of mine from years ago who he's a diplomat, who always made people feel, whatever the dispute, that both parties had won. Yeah. And now, there's a simple solution to what Trump has in front of him, and that is to do the manly thing and withdraw completely on humanitarian grounds. I think he would, even he, with his massive ego, would be surprised at how much people worldwide would welcome an act of that kind. But stupidity at the high political level is immense. I mean, thank God for people like Marley, who have taught us in this very day that the full-hearted kindness and optimism of youth is of great benefit to us all, as opposed to the ancient relic style politicians that they wheel in front of us time after time.
But see, if they withdraw, no disrespect to him, if they withdraw, all that happens is it leaves a vacuum. Vacuums don't exist on the planet. They exist in outer space. Somebody will fill that vacuum. If Trump withdraws the issue from Iran, does that mean Netanyahu's going to stop what he's doing with Hezbollah? Does that mean that Israel are going to stop what they're doing with Iran. Does that mean Iran are going to forever live in peace with the rest of the Middle East countries who they've started bombing their things? Does it mean... So withdrawing isn't the solution, and Alia is partially right. If you're a boxer and you get in the boxing ring, you can't get out. You can't get out until the fight's finished. There's no way out. So there's no way out for Trump
the
until the fight's finished.
The Israelis will have to remain in their own country with no expansionism, no greater Israel concept. And if they do so, there's absolutely no reason for them to be
120 years of history you're going to try and change. 120 years of history in 5 minutes.
And finally, because he's in town.
Sorry.
Because I want to finish. We've got 5 minutes.
Okay.
Because first visit of...
the Pope.
That's the one. I was going to say Bad Bunny, but you go with the Pope.
I'll go with the Pope because...
I mean, because he's packing out stadiums, is the Pope and Bad Bunny. I mean, it's the head-to-head. It's the head-to-head we wanted to see. Playing out of Real Madrid, playing out of the Bernabeu is the Pope, and playing out of the...
I'm sure the Pope knows who Bad Bunny is. It's not a problem.
Apparently, it's Bad Bunny, as I was told.
Bad Bunny,
it's not Bad Bunny, because the goddaughter said, no, it's Bad Bunny. Bunny, so we're not having that. Yeah.
It's a huge following.
1.2 million people... What, Bad Bunny or the Pope? Right, okay. Because 1.2 million...
As many as the Muslims.
1.2 million people... Shush, a minute, please. I'm trying to finish on a feel-good note, okay? 1.2 million people lining the streets that's just in Madrid to see the Pontiff as he made his first trip to Spain. Going to Barcelona, a bit of a faux pas, was asked, what football team he supported, and he said, the Pontiff, God supports all football teams, but I'm a Real Madrid fan because I'm always dressed in white. He's got to go to and you don't say that before going to Barcelona, do you? I mean, that's
just don't say it.
Coming off the bench, he's a tricky number 5. The Pope is a sweeper role, but you can the ultimate, what they call libero, what do they call them in football terms? Anyway, you can just see the Pope, and then he's going to go to the Canaries, not because he wants a bit of winter sun, but he's making a statement there because of the migration situation as well. He could have gone to Salamanca, he could have come to Sevilla or something like that, but no, he's made that choice.
Very clever man.
Yeah.
Why is he clever? He's got about 4,000 advisors around him.
He still is the one who...
Get out of it. He's as clever as you. If you had 4,000 people...
He is a clever man. He's got all sorts of degrees before he even became a pope and so on. He's not a stupid man.
Bet he can't play darts.
I didn't know was that how they said it now, the conclave?
No,
yes.
Everybody to their own.
Nearest to the bullseye.
So he may be well educated.
Yeah.
Doesn't make him intelligent. He may be well educated. Doesn't make him, sensible. How many times you say someone who goes to university and they come out and they've got no common sense? Come on, he's a human being that someone has put on a pedestal, who's elevated to the top of the Good for him. Good for him. But he's got no more following than the leader of the Muslims. There must be a worldwide leader of Muslims.
I do like the way you throw in a hand grenade in the last 5 minutes. When I try
you started it.
No, I didn't start it. You invaded Poland. I mean, no,
that's because I'm an atheist. Okay?
Right, okay.
I don't agree with all this white folk in bloody white robes wandering the world, telling everybody how to live their lives. Nonsense. Absolute.
Sounds like a Daz commercial.
Nonsense.
But anyway, I'm going to take this call just to see what. They're dying to get through. Morning, caller, you're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
It's Gil from Kelby.
Hi, Gil.
Hi. I wanted to say that on the issue of Iran...
I've only got 2 minutes, Gil, so...
I think the best solution is to bomb them a little bit by bit. Eventually they will open the street. I think it's simple as that.
That's bomb them with kindness, Gil. That's what we say around here.
Bomb them a little bit, eventually they will open the streets and then they can leave. Okay?
All right, Gil. Yes, go on.
Yeah?
Okay. Yep. Gil, yes, go on.
And somebody mentioned all this great Israel plan. There is no such plan. This is a lot of nonsense. Okay? Israel is a tiny country, smaller than Wales. Some people might want to add a few kilometres here in Lebanon. That's about it. That's the end of the plan.
Gil, thank you for your calling, Gil. Good to have you with us. So there we are. Failing that, you just bomb Wales, I suppose, would be the answer. that would solve quite a few.
Make Israel bigger than Wales.
Anyway.
Did you see that China has taken Israel off the map?
Oh, well, are they playing Risk or something? What?
No, it's like America calling.
They took, literally, they have gone back to the old map where Israel does not exist on. Yes, I saw it.
I'm going back to Pangaea.
You can have a look.
It's all a big landmass.
Have a look.
It's no Pangaea. It's all a big landmass. Right, almost out of time, you lot. I was trying to bring it to a lovely end with the Pope. You know, with the hope of youth represented by Marley in the corner, and you go guys in white things and
floating around and
bomb whales.
The only
telling
one
us how to live our lives.
The only one who floats around is me here.
What is it? Monty Python, women in the distribution of swords with aquatic lakes is no way to run a bit. See the violence and inherent in the system. No. You see, I got a new cap.
I lived in a cardboard box.
I'm sure you did. I got a cap from Hanoi this weekend, so I'm very happy about that. So with a red star on it, indeed. To Vietnam.
We've always said you're a communist.
Exactly right. I'm off to sing the Internationale and sing it, and go and sharpen my ice picks. I'll be back at 2 o'clock. I'll be back at 2 o'clock. What? Yes, I will. And Stephen Ritson, you've been listening to the Marley Show. I'll see you next at 2 o'clock. Panel, thanks so much for your time. Ali Abadakul.
My pleasure.
Alf,
thank you again.
And the never undertanned Tim Stafford.
Excellent, and good luck to the Pope.
And good luck to Marley.
And good luck to Marley. I'll be back at 2 o'clock. Stephen Ritson's got to clear up the rubbish after this. See you soon.
The views expressed on Viewpoint by invited studio guests and callers do not constitute an opinion endorsed in any way by Talk Radio Europe.
You've been listening to a TRE production. If you've enjoyed this program, there'll be another episode waiting for you next week, right here on this platform, where you can also access our extensive back catalogue of shows and interviews. For more information on our live programming, social media channels and apps, and how to contact Talk Radio Europe, please visit TRE.radio.